Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today, today is Hump Day. So guess what day it is?
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
That's right, folks. Today is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as I always like to say, the fun is all in the trying. It's looking like my good friend, Mr. Pirowarski, or Mikey P, as we like to call him, looks like he's started his weekend early. We're going to drag him out of his weekend on Thursday or Friday. But today, it looks like, he's off today. So we're going to have a good time. It's going to be me. It's going to be you. We're going to have a great time. If you are watching us live, I need your help. I like this when it's a conversation. We always do better. Maybe it's just me. I do better when it's a conversation. So do me a favor. If you're watching us live, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, you're watching us on YouTube, you're watching us on Facebook, you're watching us on Rumble, you're watching us on Twitter, please go ahead and comment. I am following your comments, and I will share them with the audience if I find them to be interesting. I don't have to agree with them. I may argue with them if I disagree with them, but I don't have to agree with them. I just like having the conversation. So please go ahead, comment, let us know. By the way, when you comment, let us know where you're commenting from so that we can give a shout out, not just to you, but maybe give a shout out to your neighbors as well. Speaking of shout outs, you know what time it is, folks. It's time for us to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. If you have an AR platform rifle and you are looking to rebarrel it, can't think of a better place for you to go than hitmanindustries.net. Maybe you want to do a brand new build on an AR platform. Once again, can't think of a better place for you to go than Hitman Industries. They have rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you. And if you are a first responder and you've never purchased from them before, you're going to get a discount. So check them out today at hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all level of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. They are the largest and the fastest growing grassroots conservative MAGA organization in the state of California. Check them out today at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then we've got Hog Holsters. You can find them at hogholsters.com. That's HAWG, holsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. They have the top of the line of concealed carry tactical holsters for whatever firearm or for whatever setup you have for that firearm. Just go to hogholsters.com, use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there, and you're going to get a discount on us. So check them out today, hogholsters.com. And then finally, the weather's changing, so you may need to get you some wet weather gear, to kind of go with your hot weather gear, or maybe to go with the cold weather gear. Whatever you're looking for, they have all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. Go to their website. Check them out today. They've got a huge selection. They've got excellent prices and fast shipping. Check them out. Veteran-owned and operated, uscombatgear.com. All right, much has been made about Vice President Kamala Harris and her lack of willingness to do public interviews. Not just interviews, but she'll do softball interviews. Like she'll go and she'll do local interviews where they ask her about her blouse, or she'll go and she'll do like the National Association of Black Journalists, and they'll tell her, how is it to be so wonderful, and why is joy so important to you? Or she'll go and she'll do an infomercial on CNN where, she does a 1-hour show of which only 16 minutes is interview and the rest of it is either commercials or infomercial for her and her what do you call it? Emotional support vice presidential nominee, Mr. Walz. But she won't go and do any tough interviews. And she's been questioned about this, or it's been brought up many, many times. CNN has brought it up. ABC has brought it up. I mean, a lot of reporters have brought it up. Well, one particular reporter at MSNBC, she made it a point to note that, she really doesn't have to do any interviews. And guess what? that very same reporter actually scored the next interview with Kamala Harris. Here it is, MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle, who just days ago defended Kamala's policy vagueness, scores first solo network sit-down with Dem presidential nominee. It says here, Vice President Kamala Harris will do her first solo network interview as the Democratic presidential nominee with MSNBC host Stephanie Ruhle Wednesday evening, just days after the anchor defended the candidate's vague policy statements. Quote, when you move to Nirvana, give me your real estate broker's number, Ruhle said Friday of calls for Harris to explain her policy positions. MSNBC announced the interview Wednesday morning on X, less than a week after Ruhle defended Harris's failure to articulate clear policy positions on comedian Bill Maher's show, Real Time. During the show, New York Times columnist Bret Stephens said voters, quote, don't know Harris's answers to anything. Quote, I would just say that when you move to Nirvana, give me your real estate broker's number. I'll be your next door neighbor. We don't live there, Ruhle responded. Kamala Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump, Ruhle continued. We have two choices, and so there are two things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy. Now, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the fact that here's someone who's supposed to be covering this election. She's supposed to be covering this election, but it looks like she's doing more than covering the election. It sounds to me like she's advocating, like she's campaigning. And she's not just campaigning for anybody. She's campaigning for the president. Or let me clarify. The vice president. She's not just campaigning for the vice president. She's campaigning against the former president. And one would raise the question then, is she the proper person? Does she have the credibility to be able to actually do this sort of an interview? Or at the very least, maybe let me put it this way. Maybe she has the credibility to do the interview, because anybody can do an interview, but is this really an interview? Or is this just another infomercial? Is this going to be an instance where she is basically going to, figure out exactly what it is that people want to hear and make sure that they hear it in this interview. Make sure that she asks questions. She doesn't do anything to put Kamala Harris in any strange predicament, because keep in mind, once again, her goal, as has been admitted, her goal is to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't win. In fact, while I was just kind of rambling on there for a minute, I actually was able to pull down that interview, or that little segment there, because I want you guys to hear it. I want you to don't just take my word. I want you to understand these are her words, not mine.
Questions. It's not too much to ask Kamala, say, are you for a Palestinian state if Hamas is going to run that state?
Okay.
Yes or no?
And let's say you don't like her answer. Are you going to vote for Donald Trump?
No, I'm not.
Kamala
I just said I'm not going to vote for her.
Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
I don't know.
So it's unclear to me how there could be an informed...
The problem that a lot of people have with Kamala is we don't know her answer to anything, okay?
But you know his answer to everything.
And that's why I would never vote for him, and people shouldn't vote for him. But people also are expected to have some idea of what the program is of the person you're supposed to vote for. You're just not supposed to say, well, you have to vote for Y because X is this, that, and the other. Let's find out a little bit more. And I don't think it's a lot to ask her to sit down for a real interview as opposed to a puff piece in which she describes like her feelings of growing up in Oakland with nice lawns.
Then I would just say to that, when you move to Nirvana, give me your real estate broker's number and I'll be your next door neighbor. We don't live there.
I mean, I feel like you're the dog we're trying to get in the car to go to the bed. You know?
We're going to put that tone on your head for the rest of the day.
I say that as one of your biggest fans. You know, I mean, I gobble up everything you write. I just don't understand how you get to this place. But okay, let's not badger.
But do you know, for the last 2 weeks, I've been going on and on. Like, I can't figure out where informed undecided voters are. I'm like, who's the person who has a list on their refrigerator of like, well, she said this, and he said, I'm like, who is this person? And then I opened the New York Times 3 days ago, and it's you.
Set of questions. It's not too much to ask Kamala, say, are you for a Palestinian state if Hamas is going to run that state?
Okay.
Yes or no?
And let's say you don't like her answer. Are you going to vote for Donald Trump?
No, I'm not.
Kamala
I just said I'm not going to vote for her.
Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
I don't know.
So it's unclear to me how...
All right, so by the way, for those of you who are watching me online, if you missed this, I apologize. It looks like we're having some serious connectivity issues on this end. If you get a chance, go over to Spotify. If you're getting the signal, go over to Spotify right after the program's done. Within about 30-40 minutes, the program will be up on Spotify. If you want to listen to it wherever you get your podcasts, you'll be able to get a pristine version of this program. I'll probably upload it to Rumble as well. In any case, you see here, like, her whole thing is, well, you know, she's campaigning. And her belief is that, well, you know, are you running for, you know, are you looking for someone who's perfect? No, we're not looking for someone who's perfect, but we'd like to know where she stands on the issues. Because here's the problem. When you look at the polling data and the polling information on just about every single issue that matters to voters, they believe that Donald Trump will do better. Right now, they believe that Donald Trump, by double digits, will do better on the border. By double digits, they believe he will do better on the economy. They believe that he will do better when it comes to dealing with the crime crisis in this country. In part because he is not operating from the perspective of, well, that's not really happening. Well, you're just wrong about the economy. The economy is going great. Or there's no problem at the southern border. Or we don't have a crime issue in this country. I mean, in all of those areas, the Democratic Party, in particular, the White House, and Kamala Harris are trying to tell you, but don't believe your lying eyes. And so in areas of, you know, in areas of personality and trustworthiness and all of that, they may be leaning more towards Kamala Harris, but that just means, do you want someone you like, or do you want someone who's competent? And I think there are a lot of independent voters. That's what they're weighing. They're not like, okay, they're really just kind of, I don't really like Donald Trump's personality, but Kamala Harris is an idiot. And I got to weigh the difference between someone I don't like and someone who I don't think is competent. And they're having a hard time figuring it out. And that's a small sliver of people in a small cross-section of the country. We're talking about 7, maybe 8 swing states. That's not a lot of people. That's not a lot of people at all. That's what they're dealing with right now. And, you know, when she says, well, she doesn't have to answer any questions. No, yes, she does. Because it means one of two things. If all they have to go by is her record, And by the way, she's trying to run as the candidate of change. When she first came out, when she first got into the race, she was seen 47% to 36% for Trump, seen as the candidate of change. But here's the deal. She's the incumbent. She is the leader of the incumbent party. She has been in the White House. She has been in charge for the last 3.5 years, her and Joe Biden. How is she, if we don't know what makes her different, then all we can assume is she's just like Joe Biden. And if we assume that she's just like Joe Biden, well, guess what? Joe Biden has done a horrible job at being president. His policies are horrible. I mean, aside from the fact that, he's the walking dead. I mean, he's a walking corpse. Aside from the fact that he's too senile to be president anymore. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's too senile to run for president. Evidently, according to Democrats, according to the vice president, he's not too senile to be president anymore. But we don't know. So we don't know. So we assume that she's as bad as he is. That's all we've got. So, okay, so there's that. Or we can look at what she has said. And what has she said? Well, all we have to go by so far is what she said back when she ran for president again, or before. She said that she wanted to decriminalize entering the country illegally. She said that she was against fracking. She said she wanted to defund the police. She said she wanted to steal patents from American companies in order to do with them as she willed. That's what she said. That's what we have to go on. She said she wanted to decriminalize prostitution or sex work. These are all positions that she took. And we hear from campaign staff that on some of those she's changed her mind. Like all of a sudden she wants to deport people who enter the country illegally. All of a sudden we hear, well, she supports fracking. I want to hear it out of her mouth. But we don't know. So because we don't know, all we can do is assume. And trust me, if we have to assume, she is going to lose. There's not a doubt in my mind that if we have to assume her positions, if we have to assume the position, we are going to lose. Or she is going to lose. And that's how that is going to go down. Anyway, moving right along. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why there's a question. Because Joe Biden has pretty much said, I delegated everything to Kamala Harris. So in other words, he said, I wasn't doing it. I didn't do anything. I've handed it all over to Ms. Harris. She's running things, right? That's what he said. Or is that what he said? Well, tell you what, let's take a look at what Breitbart is reporting. So over at Breitbart, they have this article here. It says, Joe Biden says he delegated everything to Kamala Harris, foreign policy to domestic policy. It says here, the acknowledgement is significant because it contradicts Harris's talking points. Harris has tried multiple times to distance herself from the Biden-Harris record. My approach is about new ideas, new policies that are directed at the current moment. And also, to be very honest with you, my focus is very much in what we need to do over the next 10, 20 years to catch up to the 21st century. Harris told Brian Taff, Philadelphia's Action News 6 ABC on September 13th. Quote, I'm obviously not Joe Biden, and I offer a new generation of leadership, she said, providing examples of what the Biden-Harris administration failed to achieve. 57% of registered voters believe they are not better off under the Biden-Harris administration as they were 4 years ago under former President Donald Trump. RMG research polling found in September. Only 25% of Americans rate the economic conditions under Biden-Harris administration as excellent or good, a Pew Research study showed. While campaigning for Harris on The View on Wednesday, Biden appeared to blame Harris for the administration's failure to reduce inflation, secure the southern border, and responsibly the draw from Afghanistan. Quote, as vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do, or so I was able to delegate to her responsibility on everything from foreign policy to domestic policy, he said. So in other words, he's trying to say, look, hey, she and I are simpatico. We're the same. In fact, a lot of it she advised me on or I delegated to her. So, yeah, she's ready to be president. Yeah, that only works if you're happy with how things have gone. Now, they've spent the last year trying to convince you that things are going great. That, yeah, paying 20% more on average for everything, paying as much as 40% more for fuel, paying as much as 56% more for homeowners insurance. Yeah, that's all good. That's all a figment of your imagination. We have a great economy, despite the fact that the new jobs that they claim that they've created. Yeah, no, we really lied about the number of jobs that we created. We created way less. And oh, by the way, the majority of the jobs that we created, yeah, those actually went to immigrants, not American citizens. There's actually a net loss of jobs, or the net increase in joblessness for Americans, but a net decrease in joblessness for foreign-born citizens, for immigrants. But they're not going to tell you that. They're not. And by the way, that's all. And by the way, I'm sorry. And by the way, that's all on Kamala. She played a role in all that. She doesn't want to take credit for that record. She doesn't want to take credit for her record as she campaigns with Joe Biden, because she doesn't want the Biden record to be her record. So that's one of the reasons why. Because, but once again, she doesn't want to have to answer the questions. When she won't answer the question, why did you not fix everything? I mean, the things you say you want to fix on day one, day one was 3.5 years ago. Why didn't you start fixing it then? She doesn't want to answer that question. She doesn't want to answer questions about issues where she's changed her mind. Why did she change her mind? Did she actually change her mind? Because she's insistent, my values haven't changed. Well, if your values haven't changed, then why have your positions on the issues changed? Well, I've learned things. What did you learn? What did you learn about fracking that makes it so that we need to keep doing it? What did you learn about deporting people who enter our country illegally that says you need to that we need to do that? Right? What have you learned? Come on, tell me, please. What have you learned about defunding the police? Because you were for defunding the police. Now you're against defunding the police. What have you learned? She doesn't have the political intelligence to answer those questions effectively. If you notice, I've said this before, when she goes into her word salads, that's because she's trying to think of what to say. And so she goes to her word salads, which are basically, and what's funny is they're not even original word salads. They're like those pre-mixed things that you can pick up at the grocery store that's got all the different things. Everything's already chopped up, and all you got to do is mix it up and pour on the dressing. Except she messes that up because she doesn't know when to stop. It's like that's all you get for dinner is the pre-mixed salad. And oh, by the way, she forgot to put the dressing on it. She forgot the croutons. Or she threw the plastic bag in there with the rest of the salad. That's how she does it. Because she doesn't want to have to answer for anything. But that's the way this administration works. They never want to answer for anything. Great example, Abe Lincoln. Anthony Blinken, or I like to call him Abe Lincoln. One of the biggest failures of this administration is the pullout of Afghanistan. And while all of us, I think, agree that it was something that needed to happen, we need to get out of Afghanistan, how they did it was what was wrong. You can do the right thing and do it the wrong way. And that's exactly what we're dealing with here. Basically, they pulled out of Afghanistan and it went all bad because and by the way, just so you know, they ignored their own advisors. Their own advisors said, look, we shouldn't give a date as to when we're going to be getting out. They said that it ought to be gradual. They said that we needed to leave 2,500 troops behind just in case, so that we've actually already got a presence there. They wanted to make sure that we got all of our people out and made sure we addressed the issue of our equipment. They all said that we needed to make sure that we address the people who are our allies, the people who put their lives on the line for us. They all said that. And he ignored them. And he set a date. And they got out. And once again, it went all bad. As a result of that, because they're being brought before Congress to answer the questions, because when Democrats were in charge, they refused to actually ask any questions about it. They refused to hold them accountable. So now you've got Republicans who are now doing their jobs in Congress. They're like, we want to know what the heck happened. But Anthony Blinken, here we go. Here we have pattern of obstruction. Blinken no-shows hearing on Afghan withdrawal, defying subpoena and prompting contempt resolution. Anthony Blinken failed to attend a Tuesday hearing on the Biden-Harris administration's bungled withdrawal from Afghanistan, defying a congressional subpoena and setting the stage for him to be the first Secretary of State to be held in contempt of Congress. Blinken was mandated under subpoena by the House Foreign Affairs Committee to testify about the botched 2021 evacuation that brought the Taliban back to power and left 13 American service members dead. He was expected to face tough questions about the recent unveiled congressional report detailing how the United States abandoned a significant amount of classified information, advanced biometric data, and millions in cash when it fled the war-torn country. Instead, the State Department informed the committee on Monday evening that Blinken would be a no-show, claiming he is too busy with the United Nations General Assembly in New York City to attend, according to sources familiar with the situation. Now, this is just one part of the stonewalling that they've been doing. But the problem is they don't want their Secretary of State. And by the way, Blinken is probably one of the most competent people they have in their administration, who is basically covering Biden policy. I mean, he's basically implementing Biden-Harris policy. But no, you don't want to put him before Congress because he might slip up and tell the truth. He might slip up and let y'all know, well, yeah, no, we advised the president of that. And yeah, no, well, he was told by his generals of this. And yeah, no, that was considered, but the president decided not to go that direction. And yeah, the vice president was the last person in the room as he made his decision. And that makes Democrats look all bad, and that's why they don't want him in there. That's why he's not going to be there. That's why he's not going to testify. And once again, I will continue to say this. Nobody disagrees that we needed to get out of Afghanistan. But how you doing the right thing and how you do the right thing are two different things. And clearly he bungled it. And nobody wants to admit that. Nobody in the administration wants to admit that. Because once again, it makes not just Joe Biden look bad, but it makes Vice President Kamala Harris look bad. And their interest is in, to making Kamala Harris look good. And one of the things that's been interesting about this is this whole election, they've probably talked about foreign affairs the least, at a time in which we are probably in the gravest danger of war breaking out. And that's just the result of weakness of Joe Biden being president. This was a situation where we were at when Barack Obama was president. When Joe Biden was president, you notice we didn't have any new military entanglements. We didn't, while we were engaged in wars, we were making plans to be able to get out of the ones that we were in, or at least the forever wars that we were in. But you notice that people didn't see the United States as weak. They saw us as strong. And right now, because we have this policy, because Democrats have this foreign policy of leading from behind, and those are Barack Obama's term, because we like to lead from behind, where basically we're not going to be leaders. We look for where the crowd is going, or where our people say our people are going, and that's where we go. We say, I'm their leader and I will lead them. Well, we're leading from behind in this particular case. And our enemies know it. They know that, by the way, so do our allies. Our allies, the reason why you're seeing some of our allies talking with China, doing business deals with China, is because they know that the U.S. is weak. They know we're weak. They know we're weak because we have a weak president who's leading us down a path of weakness. We had before y'all say, well, what about when Trump was? No, we had 8 years of Obama, then we had 4 years of Trump, and then we've had 4 years of 4 years of Joe Biden, and now they're hoping to get another 4 years of the same exact policy under Kamala Harris. That's their goal, and that goal has not changed. That goal has not changed one bit. Their desire is to make sure that we're weak. That is kind of sad, but it is in fact reality. All right, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholster.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. Now, I'm guessing that Mike may not be here because they're having some internet issues down there in Florida and in Georgia, because there's a hurricane down there, and the news is all a Twitter about hurricanes. But I think as our good friends over there at the Babylon Bee are reporting, fake news that you can count on. Experts warn hurricane in Hurricane Alley during hurricane season, clear sign of climate change. Yeah, I know. Clearly, climate change is a thing in their eyes. No, not really. So anyway, we're happy. It's interesting to see this whole thing, to see what's going on there. But yeah, no, it's not a sign of climate change. But we see the same thing here in California, in Sacramento. Every time the wintertime comes, and then they think they have to do all the major reporting on winter because winter has come, and how the fact that winter has come is a sign of climate change. Of course, if winter doesn't come, it's a sign of climate change. If it comes early, it's a sign of climate change. If it comes late, if it's a sign of climate change. If it's milder than it's supposed to be, it's a sign of climate change. If it's harsher than it's supposed to be, it's a sign of climate change. That's the brilliance of the climate change agenda. It's always climate change. Not a problem. All right. That then brings us to... you heard me talk about earlier that Joe Biden was on The View. It says here once again from the Babylon Bee, in a hilarious gaffe, Biden tells The View he was forced out of power in a vicious coup. Oops. Was that really a gaffe, or did he just tell the truth? Trust me, when the Biden-Harris administration is telling the truth, it's a gaffe, because that's not exactly what they wanted to say. And then finally, this last one, you may have heard that the IRS workers have endorsed Kamala Harris, and is reported by, once again, the Babylon Bee. Shocking. Woman who wants your money endorsed by people who take your money. I think that's a career move for them. I think that's what that is right there. They're thinking, well, hey, you know what? She wants us to take their money. That'd be good business for us. Anyway. All right, folks. Well, hey, that brings us to the end of our show. But before we go, we're going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. You'll find them at hitmanindustries.net. Rifle and pistol caliber available for you today. Then you've got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. You'll find them at crag.org. That's cragop.org. Then we've got Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, and get your Hog Holster today on a discount. And then finally, the place where you can find all things except the gun. That would be uscombatgear.com. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call it a day. We thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Throat Punch Thursday. Hopefully we'll have a better internet connection. If not, I jalapies. Remember, Spotify. And I'll also upload this to Rumble as well. Anyway, y'all take care. Have fun. Stay safe. We'll holler at you later.